In a residential neighborhood in the Seattle suburbs where cherry blossoms announced the arrival of spring, Sarah Johnson was spending her busy morning hours. While preparing breakfast in the kitchen, she was thinking about her 10-year-old daughter Emma's school presentation. Sarah, who worked as a nurse at the local general hospital, was deeply trusted by her patients and was sometimes called the angel nurse by her colleagues. Her gentle smile and careful nursing care healed the hearts of many patients. "Mom, I'm nervous about today's math test," Emma said as she came running down the stairs, buttoning her uniform shirt. The adorable girl with golden curly hair was always bright and cheerful, with many friends at school. She was an excellent student with outstanding grades, particularly fond of reading, a brilliant child. "You'll be fine, Emma. We practiced together yesterday, didn't we?" "I'm sure you'll do well," Sarah said, gently stroking her daughter's head while spreading jam on toast. The breakfast time shared by the three family members was one of the most precious times of Sarah's day. "Has Daddy already left?" Emma asked, looking around for her father. "Yes, he had an important meeting, so he left early for work. But he promised he'd definitely come to today's presentation," Sarah replied with a smile, though she felt a small sense of unease deep in her heart. Her husband Michael, who worked as a salesman, had seemed busier than ever these past few months. He'd been coming home late more often, and work calls had become frequent even on weekends. Michael was highly regarded at his company and was a good father who cherished his family. He used to play catch with Emma and take the family on picnics on weekends. However, recently, such family time had decreased. Sarah tried to understand her husband's dedication, but sometimes she felt lonely. "There's Hannah's birthday party today. Can I go?" Emma asked while drinking her milk. "Of course. But don't forget your homework." "Got it," Emma answered brightly. As Sarah prepared to drive Emma to school, she thought about another long day beginning at the hospital. Recently, there had been many new patients at the hospital, making Sarah busier than before. However, she felt deep fulfillment in her work where she could see patients' smiles. While driving Emma to school, Sarah was concerned about her daughter's condition. Over the past few weeks, Emma had been leaving her breakfast unfinished more often and occasionally complained of headaches. She thought it was something common with children, but her maternal intuition was telling her something. "Emma, how are you feeling? You haven't seemed to have much appetite lately." "I'm fine. I'm just a little tired," Emma answered while looking out the window. Her voice lacked its usual energy, which worried Sarah. As she dropped Emma off in front of the school, Sarah kissed her daughter's cheek. "I hope you have a wonderful day. Both Mom and Dad will come to see your presentation." "Thank you, Mom," Emma smiled and waved as she headed toward school. Sarah sat in her car for a while, watching her daughter's retreating figure. Lately, she felt that family conversations weren't as lively as they used to be. Michael had begun talking about work more often and had stopped making plans for family trips. When she arrived at the hospital, Sarah changed into her white coat and began making rounds to her assigned patients. While caring for various patients from elderly people to small children, she thought about her own family. On the surface, they appeared to be a happy family with no problems, but the recent subtle changes concerned her. In the evening, Sarah finished her work at the hospital and returned home. Emma had come back from her friend's birthday party and was doing homework in the living room. Michael hadn't come home yet. "How was the party?" "It was fun. But I felt a little sick in the middle of it." Emma's words worried Sarah. "Are you okay? How do you feel now?" "I'm fine now. I think I just ate too much." Emma smiled, but to Sarah, that smile seemed a bit forced. That night, Michael came home past 9 o'clock. He looked tired and, as usual, had his cell phone in his hand.
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
And welcome home. Shall I reheat dinner for you? Thanks. But I had something light at the office, so I'm fine. Michael answered briefly and continued looking at his cell phone. Previously, they would have talked about Emma's school events and the day's happenings, but recently such conversations had become rare. Before going to bed, Sarah visited Emma's room. Good night, Emma. I hope tomorrow will be another wonderful day. Good night, Mom. Thank you. Emma hugged her mother and fell asleep peacefully. Sarah gazed at her daughter's sleeping face, feeling strongly that she wanted to protect this small family. That night, Sarah looked at Michael's sleeping face beside her. The man she had met and fallen in love with 12 years ago, whom she had married. However, lately, something about him was different from before. Sarah didn't yet know what it was. But her intuition told her that something was about to change. Several weeks later, Sarah noticed that her husband's changes had become more pronounced. Michael's business trips had increased from once a month to once a week, and over time had become an almost daily occurrence. He continued to leave home early in the morning and return late at night. I have another 3-day business trip to Portland starting this Friday, Michael casually announced while hurriedly eating breakfast. Previously, when he talked about business trips, he would have looked more apologetic, but recently he spoke of them as if they were a matter of course. Do you remember Emma's parent-teacher conference? Sarah asked quietly. Oh, right. But this contract is important for the company. Could you go alone? Michael answered while looking at his cell phone. He had stopped putting his phone away during meals. Previously, he valued family time and would leave his phone in another room during meals, but now he constantly kept it nearby, frequently checking messages. I understand, Sarah replied, hiding her disappointment. Emma had been listening to her parents' conversation but said nothing. However, loneliness was evident in her expression. That day at the hospital, Sarah was talking with her colleague nurse Linda during their break. You seem tired lately. Are you okay? Linda looked at Sarah with concern. My husband's work is so busy that most of the household responsibilities have fallen to me alone. But this is just work stress, right? I'm sure things will return to normal once it settles down. Sarah answered as if convincing herself. However, deep in her heart, her intuition that something was wrong was growing stronger. That weekend, Michael said urgent work had come up and went to the office. Sarah decided to go to the park with Emma alone. Mom, we haven't played with Dad lately, Emma murmured while sitting on the swing. Daddy is working hard for us. I'm sure he'll have time soon. Sarah tried to reassure her daughter, but she herself wasn't confident. But he used to spend more time with us. He used to play catch with me, and we always went to movies on Saturdays. Emma's words pained Sarah's heart. Children were more sensitive than adults thought and could sense changes in the family. That night, Emma barely ate dinner. What's wrong? Does your stomach hurt? Yes, a little. And I just don't feel like eating. Emma looked pale and lacked her usual energy. Sarah felt Emma's forehead, but there was no fever. Let's go to the pediatrician tomorrow after school. But I'm fine. I'm probably just tired. Emma smiled with effort, but that smile looked painful to Sarah. The next day, Sarah left work early and took Emma to Dr. Williams' clinic. Dr. Williams had been Emma's doctor since she was a baby and was like family to them. It seems you've been experiencing loss of appetite and headaches recently, Dr. Williams said while carefully examining Emma. It might be caused by stress. Have there been any changes in the home environment? Sarah felt as if she'd been struck in the chest. My husband's work has been busy, and we've had less time to spend together as a family. Children are more sensitive to environmental changes than adults think. Emma is particularly sensitive, so she may be picking up on the family atmosphere. Dr. Williams' words made Sarah feel responsible. For now, let's do a blood test to make sure there are no physical problems. The results will be available next week. That night, when Michael came home, Sarah told him about the hospital visit. I took Emma to the hospital. She hasn't had an appetite lately, and I was worried. I see. But that's common with children, isn't it? Michael answered without seeming concerned while looking at his cell phone. Previously, if he heard about his daughter's health, he would have immediately asked for detailed information, but now his reaction seemed indifferent. Dr. Williams said changes in the home environment might be causing stress. Home environment? Nothing's really changed, has it? Michael answered with a slightly irritated tone. But you're spending less time at home, and Emma is feeling lonely. It's work, so it can't be helped. I'm working for the family. Michael's voice sounded colder than before. A few days later, Emma's blood test results came back. Fortunately, no physical abnormalities were found. However, Dr. Williams said to continue observing Emma's condition carefully. I'm glad there were no particular problems, Sarah was relieved, but Emma's condition didn't improve. Rather, the symptoms worsened. She complained of dizziness more often and sometimes had to leave school early. Mrs. Johnson, Emma is resting in the nurse's office. Could you come pick her up? Calls from school began coming twice a week. Sarah increasingly had to interrupt work to pick up Emma. Each time, Sarah felt sorry toward her workplace colleagues. However, her daughter's health was the top priority. Michael, Emma's condition isn't getting better. Could you make a little more family time? One evening, Sarah gathered her courage to ask her husband. Sarah, you worry too much. That's just how kids are. Besides, work is at a critical stage right now. Michael clearly looked annoyed. But Emma needs her father. I have my limits doing this alone. You're a nurse, so you're good at taking care of children, aren't you? Michael's words deeply hurt Sarah. It was as if he was saying that child-rearing was solely a woman's responsibility. That weekend, Michael said urgent work had come up again and went out. Sarah spent the time quietly with Emma. Mom, am I the reason Dad and Mom are fighting? Emma suddenly asked. Of course not. Mom and Dad are just a little tired. Sarah answered while hugging her daughter. However, Emma's words pained her heart. Children observed adult relationships closely. But you used to smile more before. Now, neither Dad nor Mom smile anymore. Sarah was speechless at Emma's innocent observation. That night, Sarah sat alone in the living room, looking at photos from their early marriage. Looking at the photos of the three of them smiling happily, she wondered when such distance had developed between them. Michael came home after midnight. He looked tired and had minimal conversation with Sarah. You're late. I was late because of an important contract matter. Michael answered briefly and immediately headed to the bedroom. Sarah felt something strange about her husband's answer. Previously, no matter how tired he was, he would have shown concern for the family, but now he seemed to think only of himself. That night, Sarah lay awake staring at the ceiling. Looking at her sleeping husband's face beside her, she wondered if this man was really working for his family. The next morning, Emma complained of feeling unwell again. My stomach hurts, and I feel dizzy. Sarah looked at her daughter's condition and decided to let her stay home from school. Let's rest at home today. I'll call the hospital and take the day off too. Emma laid her head on her mother's lap and closed her eyes with relief. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair while feeling anxious about their family's future. It felt as if the bonds of this small family were gradually breaking apart. On Tuesday afternoon, Sarah was working busily in the pediatric ward of the hospital. She was preparing an for a 7-year-old boy who had just been admitted when her cell phone rang. Is this Mrs. Johnson? This is Mrs. Patterson from the nurse's office at Madison Elementary School. Nurse Mrs. Patterson's voice was more tense than usual. Emma suddenly collapsed in the classroom. She's conscious, but she looks very ill. I think she should be taken to the hospital immediately. Sarah nearly dropped the blood pressure monitor. I'm coming right away. Sarah explained the situation to her colleagues and hurried to the school. Emma, lying in the nurse's office, was pale, her usually rosy cheeks white as paper. Mom, Emma called her mother in a weak voice. It's okay, let's go to the hospital right away. Sarah picked up her daughter and carried her to the car. Emma's body felt lighter than usual, which increased her anxiety. When they arrived at the emergency department of St. Mary's Hospital, Sarah's colleagues responded quickly. Emma was taken to the triage room in a wheelchair and immediately examined by a doctor. Her blood pressure is lower than normal, and her pulse is unstable. Let's run detailed tests immediately. Dr. Martinez gave instructions quickly. Emma was placed on an examination bed and an IV was started. Mom, I'm scared, Emma gripped her mother's hand tightly. It's okay, Mom is here with you, Sarah said, holding her daughter's hand with both hands while praying in her heart. While waiting for the blood and urine test results, Sarah went into the hallway and took out her cell phone. With trembling hands, she called Michael's number, but it went to voicemail. Michael, Emma is at the hospital. Come right away. After leaving a brief message, she returned to her daughter's side. An hour later, Dr. Martinez entered the examination room with a serious expression. Mrs. Johnson, the test results show abnormal values. We found substances in the blood that normally wouldn't be detected. Sarah gasped. What does that mean? We need detailed analysis, but it could be some kind of toxic substance. Has Emma eaten or drunk anything unusual recently? Sarah thought desperately. Nothing particularly unusual, but she did receive sweets from friends. We'll conduct detailed tests immediately. And as a precaution, we need to contact the police. Dr. Martinez's words made Sarah unable to accept reality. Police? Why? When toxic substances are detected, we need to investigate whether there might be criminal activity. At that moment, Nurse Jenny approached with a flustered expression. Mrs. Johnson, please call your husband right away. He needs to come immediately. What? Why? Sarah was confused. There's no time to explain. Please hurry. Jenny's urgent voice made Sarah grab her cell phone with trembling hands. This time Michael answered. Sarah. What's wrong? Michael, come to the hospital right away. Emma. Emma might have been poisoned. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Poisoned? What are you talking about? I'll explain later. Just come right now. Sarah hung up and returned to Emma. Her daughter was fitted with an oxygen mask and surrounded by monitors. Mom, it hurts, Emma said in a weak voice, bringing tears to Sarah's eyes. It's okay, you'll get better soon. 30 minutes later, Michael arrived. His face was pale, and his usual composure was nowhere to be seen. How is Emma? There was a positive reaction for poison. The police are coming too. Michael was speechless. At that moment, Dr. Martinez appeared with detailed test results. It's confirmed. We detected an arsenic-based poison in Emma's blood. Fortunately, it's not a lethal amount, but she may have been ingesting it continuously. Continuously? Sarah asked in a trembling voice. It appears she's been ingesting small amounts over the past several weeks. This is the cause of her recent health problems. Michael leaned against the wall. How could this? Who would do this? At that moment, Detective Brown entered the hospital room. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I presume. I'd like to speak with you about your daughter's case. Detective Brown was a middle-aged woman with kind-looking eyes, but her voice was serious. Have there been any new people Emma has come into contact with recently? Particularly anyone who gave her sweets or drinks? Sarah tried desperately to remember. School friends and neighbors. I don't think there was anyone unusual. Detective Brown made notes. Then I have questions for the family. Mr. Johnson, have you had contact with any new colleagues or associates at work recently? Michael was clearly agitated. Work-related people don't come to our house. What about you, ma'am? I haven't particularly. At that moment, Emma said something in a small voice. Mom. Sarah approached her daughter. What is it, Emma? Do you remember something? Emma spoke in a tired but clear voice. Dad's friend, the woman, she was nice and always gave me sweets. The air in the room froze. Sarah stared at her husband, but Michael looked away. Emma, when did you meet this woman? Detective Brown asked gently. Last Saturday and the weekend before, when I was with Dad. Sarah's heart pounded violently. On Saturday, Michael had said he was at work and gone out. Mr. Johnson, could you explain? Detective Brown's gaze turned to Michael. Michael, with a pale face, finally spoke. Jessica. I was with my colleague Jessica. Sarah felt as if the world was collapsing. Colleague? Why was she meeting Emma? That's. Michael was at a loss for words. Detective Brown intervened. We'll hear the details at the station. Right now, Emma's treatment is the top priority. Dr. Martinez explained the treatment plan. We'll start administering an antidote. Fortunately, it's not a life-threatening situation, so we expect recovery with proper treatment. Sarah shed tears of relief, but at the same time, distrust toward her husband grew in her heart. That night, Emma spent the night in the intensive care unit. Sarah stayed by her daughter's bedside all night. Michael left the hospital once, saying he was going to consult with a lawyer, and didn't return. Late at night, Nurse Linda brought coffee to Sarah. Sarah, what happened? Tell me the truth. Sarah told her colleague, who was also a close friend, about her husband's recent changes and today's events. I can't believe it, but Emma will be okay. We're here for you. Linda's words helped Sarah calm down a little. The next morning, Detective Brown began formal questioning with Michael at the Seattle police station. Sarah waited anxiously by Emma's bedside, wondering what explanation her husband would give while watching over her daughter's recovery. Mr. Johnson, please tell me in detail about your relationship with Jessica Williams. Detective Brown placed recording equipment on the table while asking the question. Michael sat next to his lawyer, clearly nervous. Jessica is a colleague in the same sales department. We've worked together since last spring. Is there more to the relationship than that? After a long silence, Michael opened his mouth heavily. 6 months ago, we became personally involved. The lawyer placed a hand on Michael's arm, but he continued. But I can't believe Jessica would do anything to Emma. Your daughter testified that she received sweets from this woman. When and where did they meet? Michael held his head in his hands. Saturday afternoon, when I was playing with Emma in the park, Jessica came. She gave Emma cookies. Why did you introduce your daughter to Jessica? Jessica likes children and wanted to meet Emma. I thought Emma could make a new friend. Detective Brown frowned. I don't understand the psychology of a father who introduces his affair partner to his 10-year-old daughter. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Emma's condition was steadily improving. Dr. Martinez was explaining the treatment progress to Sarah. The poison is being eliminated from her body. She should make a complete recovery in another 2 or 3 days. Thank goodness, Sarah shed tears of relief. However, psychological care is also necessary. Emma has experienced betrayal by adults. I recommend counseling. That afternoon, Detective Brown visited the hospital. Mrs. Johnson, we've arrested Jessica Williams. Sarah gasped. Arrested? We found cookies identical to those given to Emma in her apartment. They contained arsenic. Detective Brown opened a file. Furthermore, we found decisive evidence on her cell phone. What kind of evidence? Messages to a friend. Content like, if that child disappears, Michael will only look at me, and I'll weaken her little by little, then make it look like an accident in the end. Sarah couldn't stop trembling. She was trying to kill Emma, wasn't she? It was premeditated. We also found records of her purchasing the poison. She had skillfully refined gardening pesticide. Detective Brown continued. Also, she was monitoring your husband's behavior. All records of Michael meeting with her under the pretense of business trips are preserved. At that moment, Emma woke up. Mom, I'm thirsty. Sarah quickly gave her daughter water. Emma, how do you feel? Much better. But why did that woman give me bad things? Sarah struggled to answer Emma's innocent question. Sometimes in the adult world, there are people who think bad thoughts. But that person has been caught now, so you can feel safe. What about Dad? Emma's question pained Sarah's heart. Dad is sad too. That night, Michael visited the hospital. His face was completely haggard. Sarah, I want to talk. The two sat facing each other in the hospital cafeteria. I heard about Jessica's case. I can't believe it. Michael muttered, holding his head. But you knew, didn't you? That she was getting close to Emma. Sarah's voice was cold. I never thought it would come to this. You had an affair for 6 months and introduced that person to our daughter. Your judgment caused this incident. Michael couldn't argue. Sarah, please forgive me. Can't we start over? Sarah quietly shook her head. Emma almost died. Because of your selfish actions. But I'm a victim too. I was deceived by Jessica. A victim. Sarah's voice trembled. Emma is the victim. You're one of the perpetrators. Michael was speechless. The next day, the incident was reported in the local newspaper. The headline, Colleague's affair partner administers poison to 10-year-old, pained Sarah's heart. Linda from the hospital brought the newspaper. Sarah, what a terrible experience. But Emma is a strong child. She'll surely overcome this. Thank you. But I don't know what to do from here. Are you getting divorced? Sarah looked out the window. For Emma's sake too, I intend to start a new life. At that moment, Detective Brown brought the latest information. We've learned more details about Jessica Williams' motive. What kind of details? She was seriously considering marriage to Michael. To achieve that, she had planned to eliminate you and Emma. Sarah felt a chill down her spine. Eliminate? Poisoning Emma was the first stage. Her phone also contained records of plans for you. Detective Brown showed a serious expression. She had also planned to kill you by making it look like a traffic accident. Sarah was speechless. Her and her daughter's lives had been targeted by her husband's affair partner. Fortunately, we were able to arrest her early due to Emma's case. Otherwise, it could have been an even greater tragedy. That evening, Emma had recovered enough to walk. As she walked down the hospital corridor with her mother, she said, Mom, are we not going to live with Dad anymore? Sarah gripped her daughter's hand. Emma, sometimes adults make mistakes. Dad made a big mistake. But Dad loves me, doesn't he? Of course he does. But sometimes, even when there's love, people can't live together. Emma thought for a while before saying, I understand. But Mom and I will stay together, right? Of course. Mom will never leave Emma. That weekend, Jessica Williams was indicted on charges of attempted murder and poison contamination. The prosecution announced they would seek a heavy sentence, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and the fact that the victim was a child. Michael was fired from his company. He was held responsible for the affair scandal and the incident it caused. Supported by her hospital colleagues, Sarah began preparing for a new life. While watching over Emma's recovery, she strengthened her resolve to live as a family of just two. "Mom, what will our new home be like?" Emma asked on the day of her discharge. "It's small, but it's a lovely apartment where you can see the ocean from the window." "Emma will have her own new room too." "I can see the ocean." "How wonderful." Seeing Emma's smile, Sarah felt deeply relieved. Her daughter was a strong child. She would overcome this ordeal and surely grow into a wonderful woman. When leaving the hospital, Sarah didn't look back. She walked forward looking only at the future, not the past, gripping her daughter's small hand tightly. 3 months later, Sarah and Emma had begun their new life in a small apartment by the sea. The gentle sound of waves from Puget Sound, visible through their window, healed both their hearts. "Mom, what's in my lunch today?" Emma asked in a bright voice, wearing her new school uniform. Though she had seemed anxious when she first transferred schools, she now had made new friends and went to school happily every day. "Your favorite sandwich, Emma?" "Ham and cheese with plenty of lettuce," Sarah answered while tying her daughter's hair. Emma's appetite had completely returned, and the healthy color had returned to her cheeks. Thanks to counseling, she no longer had nightmares. That morning's news reported Jessica Williams' sentencing. She received a 12-year prison sentence for attempted murder. "Complete social rehabilitation will be difficult," the newscaster reported. Sarah turned off the television. There was no need to remember the past. "Mom, my teacher said you're a wonderful nurse," Emma said proudly. "Thank you, Emma. Mom is doing her best." Sarah was working as a pediatric nurse at a new hospital. She was entrusted with a more responsible position than before and was highly trusted by her colleagues. Most importantly, she was able to use her experience to support families facing similar difficulties. On weekends, the two were having a picnic in a nearby park. Emma was playing frisbee with her new friend Sophia. "You're Emma's mother, aren't you?" Turning around, Sophia's mother was approaching. "I'm Diana. Sophia always talks about Emma." "I'm Sarah. Thank you for always taking care of Sophia." Diana showed a kind smile. "If you'd like, would you care to have coffee together sometime? I thought the mothers in this area could support each other." Sarah's heart warmed. She was grateful to be able to build friendships like this in a new place. "I'd love to." That night, Emma was reading a picture book in bed. Sarah sat next to her daughter and said, "Emma, how do you like your new school? Is it fun?" "Yes, very fun. The teachers are kind, and I've made friends." Emma closed her book and looked at her mother. "Mom, we're happy, aren't we?" "Of course we are. Just having Emma with me makes me completely happy." "Me too. Being with Mom makes me feel safe." Emma hugged her mother. "Mom, I don't hate Dad. But I prefer our life now." Sarah's eyes welled up at her daughter's words. Meanwhile, Michael was living lonely days in his one-bedroom apartment. Finding new work was difficult, and friends had distanced themselves from him. Since Jessica's incident, his life had completely changed. Sometimes he tried to write letters to Emma, but he always stopped partway through. He didn't know what to write. He was finally beginning to understand how deeply his actions had wounded his family. One day, Sarah was caring for an abused child at the hospital. The child's mother was crying, blaming herself. "If I had been more careful." Sarah held the mother's hand. "It's not your fault. What's important is protecting this child now." Through her own experience, Sarah had become able to support other families. The ordeal had made her a stronger, more compassionate person. On a day when autumn was deepening, Emma said to her mother, "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a nurse." "Why?" Because I want to help people in trouble, like Mom does. Sarah was proud of her daughter. That's a wonderful dream. Mom will support you. That night, Sarah thought while gazing at the ocean. Family isn't just about blood relations. A relationship where people care for each other, support each other, and trust each other, that's what a true family is. Emma's laughter could be heard from the next room. She seemed to be talking with a friend on the phone. Mom, Sophia's mother asked if we'd like to go see a movie together tomorrow. That sounds nice. Let's go. Sarah smiled. Outside the window, the sunset was painting the sea golden. Tomorrow, another new day would begin. A future filled with hope awaited the mother and daughter who had overcome their difficulties. Emma laid her head on her mother's lap and said, Mom, we have our own special family form, just the two of us. That's right, Emma. Our very own special and beautiful family. Sarah stroked her daughter's hair while feeling truly happy. The two had proven that family bonds based on true love and trust are stronger than any ordeal.